Hi everyone, it's adrienneleaa. This video is going to be a response to Tom Benjamin's Decks That Make Me Happy video. I really enjoyed watching it, and I also watched Kelly Bear's video, so I was excited to make my own. I do have a couple of decks here. I did narrow it down to 10. I originally had more than that, so I'll start with my Animal Wise Tarot, which comes in this bag. So it took me a couple of years to acquire this edition. I do have the latest ones. I say it multiple because I feel like there's a second edition and the third edition, or the latest one, because the deck has maroon borders, but the second edition has brighter maroon borders, which makes the pictures on the cards pop more. And I preferred that one until I got this one. And I feel like it was one of those things where I had to get to know myself more until the universe was like, it's time to get this deck that you've been looking at for so long. So I'm so happy that I did it. It really suits my personality. It makes me really happy, not only with the color palette, but I do love working with animals. It's one of the main parts of my practice. So I do love Ted Andrews' works too. I have a couple of his decks, his animal runes, and a couple of his books. So I love the way that he writes. I love his passion for nature. And this is a deck that I'm so happy to have in my collection. So the next deck, I actually don't use that much. And for the Animal Wise Tarot, I use this one year round. This one is the Circo Tarot. I got this one in a trade. I'm not a very expressive person, but this deck really makes me laugh. So it's this version of the deck, and this card is one of my favorite ones that I think are funny. I feel like it's my type of humor. It's not too in your face in terms of the humor, and also the color palette too. It's very light and approachable. It's definitely one of my most happiest decks that I own. And the reason why I don't use this one a lot is because one way that I categorize my decks are using or seeing if they're like a maiden, mother, or crone deck. So this one is more of a maiden energy, and I love all the energies for maiden, mother, and crone, but I mainly use the mother and crone energies. So I do have an appreciation for this one. So the next one is a bit of a surprise for me, considering I'm not much of a Rider-Waite Smith clone person. So the reason why I got this is because I wanted to get more serious about my business, and I really wanted to get my tarot certification. So recently I attended Ethany's Tarot Readers Academy, which is amazing, and I did get a lot from it. So I got this deck because of that, because it's mainly teaching, well, it is teaching the Rider-Waite-Smith system, and I wanted to, I'm not thinking about anything else besides play fair. I wanted to get the most out of it, so I got a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So this is my go-to Rider-Waite-Smith, and I love the imagery. I love the energy. When I first opened this from the packaging, I could feel the calm, watery energy. I'm sorry, I keep saying that. But I really love this deck, and it makes me happy because I do work well with the water element. Not so much the ocean, but more toned down from that. So this feels more of like a smaller body of water, like a lagoon. So I really appreciate this deck for that. And this feels more unapologetic because some of the imagery is more it's more put out there. It's not necessarily, well, technically it is nudity in here, but in a sense where it's being authentic to what the deck is. And as I said, it's extremely watery, not only because of it being like a lagoon type of imagery, but also feminine, and it's very deep, even though it doesn't seem like that. And I do have a lot of Scorpio in my chart, so I think it adds to it. And I'm a Libra too. I'm a Libra sun. So I'm sorry I kept going on until I got to the point. So the next deck is more of a festive one. This is the Snowland Tarot. And this was another deck that I wanted for a long time. I didn't get to use it for the holidays last year because it came after the holidays. So this is the card. And I found this deck off of Etsy. I know that there's a coffee tarot out now, which I might get. I don't drink coffee like that, but I do love the everydayness that you get from this. And what I love about this is that it reminds you of the holidays where you get together and share memories. And it brings you back. And also with it being like around the holidays of giving, it's it really sets you in the mood. And it gets me excited because I love celebrating holidays. So I'll be using this year. I also trimmed the deck too. It was larger. I do have a comparison to its original size. I did hear from the creator that the deck isn't going to have borders. So if you could see that. The next deck is the Daughters of the Moon. This is one of my most prized decks because it was the first deck that my husband gave me as a gift. And his thought process was that he wanted to impress me with a deck. So he looked up rare decks, something along those lines. And I was expecting the colored version of this, which I believe is more easily accessible. But it was actually this one. I was nosy and I really wanted to know, so that's why I was wondering which edition. So I use this specifically in the later parts of winter. I do go by the times of the year, not necessarily seasonal, although it does play a part, but I'm not going to go specifically by the season. So the next deck is one that Tom actually had on his video. And this one is the Shadowscapes Tarot, the Czech edition. I recently received this for my birthday. And last year I was using the Llewellyn edition. So I do love the imagery and I wanted a larger deck. So I use this around the beginning of the winter holidays, or the winter season. So that's until like somewhere around January, and then I switch up to my more shamanic decks. And I'm actually starting to gild it in silver. I haven't really gotten into it yet, but I do like the silver more than the gold, but they're both beautiful. This was, well, I've been looking for this deck too. I also didn't want it to be from overseas because of the shipping and the duration of, well, the time that it would get here. So I'm happy that I was able to get it for my birthday. So I just told my dad that I wanted it, and then he got it for me. The next deck is another one that I got for my birthday, which is the Dark Goddess Tarot. And I love this deck. This is more of an everyday deck for me. My goddess is the Morgan, so I really love the way that she's interpreted in this deck. I love the Dark Goddess energy. So they are larger than I expected, but I do love the size. And the readings are really bold and powerful. Arnell is so nice too. She really cares about what she puts out there and the people that are interested in her artwork. The next one is the Tarot of the She. I originally edged this in black, but as you can see, I trimmed the borders off, but I left a little left. I left some of the border because I do like how it says the different suits. It's creative. And I'm sorry, the reason why I went with the silver, which now it looks more like a gunmetal, is because the border was a little dark for me. So I love it, and I feel like I'll take this out a lot more. I usually don't use fairy decks that much after the later winter season, but if I am going to use one, it's most likely going to be the Tarot of the She. So I have 2 left. This next one is one that I saw on Jane's channel, which is My Life in Tarot, and it's the Theater Dolls Tarot. This makes me happy because I think that the depictions on the cards are so I would say quirky. They also have this grand type of look to them. And I didn't say really why I love the Tarot of the She makes me happy. It's one of the very first decks that I got for myself when I started to get more decks besides keep the few that I had. So I really connected to the fairy energy from it. I mainly work with fairies. And those were the decks that I mainly narrowed down because I have mainly fairy decks. But it really sets the mood for this one. It's a creative concept, and I appreciate this deck. So the last one is funny to me because I wasn't expecting what the deck actually is. And not that I thought the deck was going to be a bad one, but it's from Spencer's. Like, they used to be Spencer's Gifts. I'm pretty sure people can still refer to them as Spencer's Gifts and it'll show up. But it comes in this bag, and another tarot reader made this bag, and it's so cute. So this is the back. So I thought this deck would be more of a gag gift. So this is the back. And there is a lot of different mythological creatures. I would say a majority of this deck is based off of cryptozoology. So I love that about it. It makes me happy because this deck really went to the nines and took it home for me. It impressed me in a lot of ways. I love looking into different mythologies. So this deck is one of a kind in my collection because it really goes out and sees what type of mythological creatures are in different cultures. I highly appreciate the creators that made this deck because there's so much that was put into this. And the borders, my husband says it reminds him of the Dirty South. He's from the South, so that's why we're temporarily living here until I move back up north. So it fits the mood for being here. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope I wasn't rambling too much. And thank you so much, Tom, for making your video. It was a sweet one. And I'll see you guys in another video. Bye.